Time. The answer is time.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear thoughts build up until I can't hear. That my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear the thoughts build up until I can't hear. That my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. As you know, I've been emphasizing time as such an important tool, providing almost magical insight into a case. If you knew nothing about the Morphew case and knew nothing about any of the evidence, and you simply looked at the phone data, the text, the escalating drama in Suzanne's phone narrative, it's hard to imagine anyone would think, as it reached its climax, and then within that schema, Suzanne and her phone suddenly disappeared, that wasn't relevant, that wasn't contextually really important circumstances to kind of what was going on. Not only that, the final text exchanges on Barry's phone also disappeared. So you have simultaneously a cell phone data narrative being laid down, arguments, statements, and then also it being subtracted, deleted, removed from the narrative. And then, of course, Suzanne and her phone are removed from the narrative as well. In this analysis, we're going to dive even deeper into the phone data narrative, this time expanding it to include one of the Morphew girls as well. Before we get to that, news just in that the CBI have asked the local community to use an official tip line for the Suzanne Morphew investigation. The CBI, that's the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, also said on Monday that there is no new information on the case at this time. Let's just say I have an idea what prompted that move. The other thing that's interesting to note is Barry has had now quite a lot of time to grieve, so have his daughters. And isn't this now officially a murder investigation? And do they not have anything to say? Are they now not making any kind of appeal? The silence is certainly a little strange, isn't it? Anyway, before we get to this analysis, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Bear in mind, I'll be continuing in a part 2, the statement analysis of the Ramsey's 2000 interview with Paula Woodward. I have done quite a lot of work to improve the sound quality, so this time the interview should be a lot better. The audio, I've managed to enhance it and make it a lot louder. So look out for that. It should be at 4 p.m. Eastern. I'll put a link at the end of this video or in the description. If you finding this analysis worthwhile, please like, share, leave a comment. You can also hit the thanks button, and let's get started. So let's go back to the timeline. Many of us know the timeline in detail when it comes to Sunday, May 10th and Saturday, May 9th. But what about Thursday, May 7th and Friday, May 8th? So if we go to page 39 of the 129-page affidavit, it reads, on May 6, 2020, from 2:43 p.m. to 5 p.m., Barry sent the suicide texts, which he subsequently deleted from his phone. On May 7, 2020, Suzanne sent videos of the cat Lulu from inside the Morphew house and exchanged messages with her. Now, I'm not sure who that is to. I don't know if it's to one of her daughters, to a friend, or to Jeff Libler. I don't know who that is to, but did you know that they had a cat called Lulu? On May 7th, 2020, at 4:43 p.m., Suzanne messaged Barry, been studying all afternoon. I'm going to bike now. I've got veggie soup on for supper. Now, one of the things we'd want to know in terms of the bike narrative is, when did Suzanne normally go biking? Did she normally go in the afternoon? Because this is late-ish afternoon, almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Or did she tend to go in the morning, or was it kind of random? On May 8th, 2020, at 7:02 a.m., Suzanne's notes folder was last backed up, wherein she articulated over 50 grievances. against Barry, one of which refers to Barry accusing her on May 6th of having a boyfriend. So can you see how things are escalating right at the end, where it feels like right at the end Barry is, according to her, aware of or suspicious or perhaps even upset about his wife perhaps having an affair, and of course she was. On May 8th, 2020 at 8:43 a.m., the same day, almost 2 hours later, Suzanne sent Barry the message, "Sorry I forgot about Rob Mazel last night, but I will continue to do your invoicing when you need to." Footnote 49 refers to a text of Suzanne's offer to continue to do invoicing following a May 6th text request to handle this civilly, and her also numerous attempts to separate from Barry. Her subsequent text to her sister Melinda indicates she let the mistreatment continue for too long, that she'd said to her sister something like, "I've allowed this to go on for too long," and she was now moving in a different direction. And I think the notes that she put on her phone in that folder on May 8th, that morning, it's almost like Suzanne decided on May 8th, this is a new dawn, this is a new day, I'm going to start heading in this direction. And that was two days after May 6th. When FBI agents showed Barry these texts during interviews in 2021, the following year, he said, "I didn't think Suzanne was serious." On May 8th from 9:01 a.m. to 9:28 a.m., Suzanne messaged Melinda. She said, "It's hard dealing with the harsh abrasiveness and having to show respect." And that's all from page 39 of 129 from the affidavit. Now, it's staggering that on May 8th, 2 days after the "I'm done" text, Suzanne compiled a list of about 60 grievances against Barry. And so we're going to deal with that on, I think it's page 12. It actually features quite prominently early on in the affidavit. So according to page 12, on July 7th, 2020, so the following year, the FBI computer scientist Brian Turner recovered a file from the return of search warrant on an Apple. So it is using the iCloud system. And this file appeared to contain notes that Suzanne herself wrote to herself in her Apple account on or before Friday. Now, the fact that it's in an Apple account, I believe, is really significant and really relevant, really important. And she wrote this on or before Friday, May 8th, 2020. The attachment shows that the notes were backed up to the cloud on May 8th, 2020 at around 7:01 a.m. to 7:03 a.m. And I suppose you could say, can you prove that she wrote this on May 8th? Well, look at the contextual fabric. Wouldn't one say that it looks like, based on all the text she was sending to other people, that it does make sense that this was written around then? Anyway, computer scientist Turner retrieved the notes that contained 60 lines of apparent issues Suzanne had with Barry. Now, you know that she's just said to her sister that she's going to start taking a different, right. She's going to start moving in a different direction. Do these notes correspond to that idea or not? And bear in mind, it's not one or two kind of gripes. It's a whole group of them. Someone who's suddenly appreciating the full extent of what they're not very happy with. Anyway, so she talks about the following. She first writes monkey app, and that seems to be a reference to an application on a phone that can function as a dating website. So I don't know whether she was aware of someone else using the monkey app. She also refers to woman on Facebook good for business, lies about deer pants unzipped, trip to Colorado, pen on hand. I think that refers to pen, ink, I guess, on hand. It's interesting that she talks about trip to Colorado. Is that a trip to Denver? I wonder what that's referring to. Wear bear claw, FaceTime in Arizona, angry. Sheila and me in the house without telling that he was apparently following them around. Lied and said you needed phone call to Casey. Chased me around resort and threatened. Took phone. I think that's also quite relevant, is that in the backstory, certainly according to Suzanne, Barry had taken her phone previously, And I think Shanann Watts did something similar. Took Chris Watts's phone and tried to see if there's something on there. And of course, he'd taken countermeasures because he'd anticipated that, and with a secret app, he'd made sure that she wouldn't find anything. She also writes, not safe alone with you, can't be trusted, oppressive, slam on brakes when angry. And I think that statement, not safe alone with you, and then 2 days later, she seems to disappear, if we accept the timeline, is that significant? Threatened to jump out of car, gun. It's not very detailed, all of these statements. Shame and guilt daily for not meeting expectations. Nothing to do with infidelity, everything to do with your character and who you are at core. Your lack of control over me equals insecurities, equals a sick relationship. And I kind of get the feeling that was the currency of Gabby and Brian. His lack of control over her led to insecurities and then led to a toxic relationship there as well. Situation with blank, when I'm in, accused me of going behind your back. Got up and left blank and me at the table. Left plate, no comment, just to watch TV. So that seems to be a reference to a specific incident and perhaps quite a recent one. Act like I'm intruding in the garage. That's obviously where the gun safe is. Writing checks for cash out of business account. Bear in mind, a fair amount of money in their joint accounts was her money. She also writes, wiring money from something account without asking or discussing. Monex in your name only. So there are at least 3 references to money that she's alerted to and upset about. She writes, pull someone in, hurting her. I think that might be a reference to one of their daughters. Left 2 on treatment weeks, or left 2 times on treatment weeks. I think she means Barry went somewhere else when she was getting cancer treatment. Bedroom profession about marrying, having babies and sleeping together. I'm not sure if it's profession or confession. I'm not sure what that's about. Doesn't care about pregnant possibilities. Hot tub, talking to self. Question mark. Accused me of a boyfriend and something, and she puts 5/6 there, which I think is a reference to that he'd recently accused her of having a boyfriend. Wrote in Al-Anon book, knew I was talking at phone in bonus, question mark. Now, although it's good and useful and helpful that Suzanne left this trail of notes behind, they are fairly cryptic. She will probably know what she's saying, but they are quite difficult to work out what she's saying. But it does seem to be directed at a specific person, and it does seem to be grievances. I mean, she's not just making innocent notes. She's saying things like accused me. She uses other words that I'm not repeating here. Shame and guilt, lack of control, sick relationship, oppressive, threatened. Talks about pants unzipped, and so on and so on. And so can you see it definitely does seem to be about, do you agree? Now, in the Chris Watts case, I suspect Chris Watts had access to Shanann's iCloud. And there was a couple of messages between Shanann and her friends when they said things like, fuck him and you can get the house and all that kind of thing. And I don't know what Chris Watts' criminal psychology was, but those comments, if he was privy to them, couldn't have helped whatever his state of mind was. And what if the same thing is the case here? What if Barry saw this list on Suzanne's phone? I mean, what is this list suggesting? Isn't it suggesting battle lines that are being drawn? Do you agree that within the context of separation and potential divorce, there's some reason to believe there was online snooping going on just in general? But there's also reason to believe that because Suzanne was using a spy pen, and it appears someone hacked into Suzanne's Facebook. Her Facebook behavior on the night before her death was all over the map, very unusual. Her Facebook password also changed on the night of May 8th, 2020. The same night she apparently made 20 friend requests, including to 3 men named Jeff. And I remember thinking right in the beginning that her Facebook password changing on the night of May 8th, didn't that mean that she was already dead at that point? But the text to, and there was a lot of texting and the selfie to Jeff Libler the next day around about 2 p.m., I think that seems to indicate that she was still alive. Anyway, going back to the affidavit, page 32, on January 8, 2020, Barry's phone searched the Facebook help page. I can't reset my Facebook password because I can't access the email or phone number of my account. And this was recovered from deleted web searches on Barry's phone. Bear in mind the date, January 8, 2020. And so on the one hand, you could say this was Barry trying to sort out his own Facebook. On the other hand, you could potentially argue that wasn't Barry already 4 months prior to the incident looking at Suzanne's Facebook? And of course, Suzanne wasn't using Facebook to communicate with Jeff. She was using, I think she was using LinkedIn, which is very, very unusual, I think. Anyway, on January 24th, so around about 3 weeks later, Barry's phone searched, well, for other things. Okay, so I also want to deal with Suzanne had not made any prior friend requests that year. So for the entire 2020, from January, February, March, April, right, going into the last weeks of her life, she'd made no friend request to anyone for all of those months. And yet on the night before she dies, her Facebook kind of goes all over the map and she makes 20 friend requests, 3 of them for a guy called Jeff. I think that needs to be really emphasized in terms of this timeline. Now, I want to conclude with a heartbreaking text that very few know about, and it also raises a lot of questions. Per the Verizon search warrants served on, I think it's one of the Morphew girls, on her cell phone, the following message was sent from blank on May 10, 2020. May 10, 2020, that was Mother's Day at 3:50 p.m., right? Over an hour before Martin Ritter reported her missing. So it was basically in response to not being able to get hold of her mother. And she wrote, "I'm just so sad and blah, blah, and I texted Mom for Mother's Day," so probably her sister, "and I texted Mom for Mother's Day, and she still hasn't answered. And I'm scared her and Dad probably got in a fight, and I don't even know. It just made me want to be gone even more because I don't want to be around them. It hurts me, and I know if blah, blah is working, I might have to be home a lot more, and it'll probably be the worst summer of my life." I find it very sad that, these are my words, I find it very sad that Suzanne knew Mother's Day was going to be hard for her because she'd lost her own mother 2 years prior. And then on that particular day, no one was with her. Not even her daughters were with her. She actually had no idea just how hard it was going to be. So I'm not going to take it further than that. Please spread the word about this official tip line and make sure you catch me live dealing with part 2 in the Ramsey statement analysis. I'll see you guys then. Thanks for listening.